Your TRAX is sponsored by Polaris. Think outside. Yamaha. Revs your heart. And by Kawasaki. Let the good times roll.
After AJ and I did our two-person review of Yamaha's all-new RMAX two-seater earlier this season, we were overwhelmed with the amount of feedback we got on that vehicle and on that test. But the number one question we got about that vehicle, oddly enough, wasn't about that vehicle. It was about the four-seater. That's right. Everybody wanted us to talk to them about the bigger vehicle, the one that was coming a little bit later on. And we're proud today to be able to have that RMAX 1000 four-seater here to talk to you a little bit more about it, about what it is, maybe what it isn't, what it competes against, and kind of in this industry, what it's more similar to. So we'll kind of break it down for you. I think we'll kick things off by talking about where this vehicle fits in amongst its competition, because it really isn't exactly like anything else in the industry. It is its own sort of unique vehicle. However, it is a four-seat sort of sporty side-by-side. So we need to figure out, where does it line up against its competition? How does it fit in, and what sets it apart? Well, is the only true competition the Pioneer with the convertible rear seats, or does the TRAX fit in here too? That's sort of where we're at with this one, because obviously it's not a General, right? No, it's not a General. So much shorter than a General, and doesn't technically have a full-size cargo box like a General. Or Tilton cargo box. However, it is more like a TRAX in terms of its length, wheelbase, and the fact that it has four seats in a two-seat wheelbase. But the TRAX doesn't have convertible rear seats, so you literally don't get any cargo space in a TRAX, but this one does that. On top of all that, it's kind of like a Honda Pioneer with convertible seats, but this is way more sporty with more power and more travel. So basically, to figure out what it is to say that it's not like anything else. It's its own unique animal, and it has features that people are asking for on both sides of the equation. Maybe we reference the two-seater, because the two-seater is only, I believe it's 8 inches overall shorter. 3 inch longer wheelbase, 8 inch overall. 8 inches less. So you get to carry 2 extra people along for only sacrificing 8 inches and a 3 inch longer wheelbase, which means this, well, in my opinion, and I think you're probably on board too, is one of, no, it's the most sporty four-seat side-by-side going right now. There's nothing else that can match the wheelbase on this, the carrying capacity. If you want a four-seater that's as sporty as this, you're looking at, what, 16, 18, 20 inches longer than what this is right now. So that's something to keep in mind, because it fits on shorter trailers. It goes in a smaller garage. It's definitely more flickable. I don't know if you noticed that, but I definitely do. When you're getting it in a corner, the rear end likes to come out a lot quicker than those longer wheelbase. Why don't we take a second and maybe move around the vehicle and just highlight some of the unique features of it, and also talk about, I think a lot of people want to know, what are the differences between this and the two-seater, and we can give you guys all that nitty-gritty information as well. So yeah, I think the key thing for everyone to remember here is that from the tip of the front tires, tip of the front tires to the back of the front seats is everything except tires identical. There is nothing different. It is 100% the same. So sliding the seats forward is basically the same process as in the Wolverine X4. You start by lifting the seat cushion and flipping it forward. It locks sort of in a notch forward, so it stays there, and then you simply unlatch the rear part of the seat, slide it forward on its tracks, and lock it back in. And if you do that with both seats, you get almost the same size cargo bed as the two-seater. It's not quite, but it's close, and it's certainly enough that you can take anything you could possibly need for two people to go out on the trail for a day, or a weekend even, if you wanted to. Absolutely. You could camp with this thing with the seats forwards, no problem. There's lots of space back here. Now, I will say there is a kind of a rear intrusion bar, if you want to call it that, and that's just for safety, to keep the structure of the overhead roof, more sturdy in case you did have a rollover. Does it get in the way? Some people asked, well, that's pretty obvious. It's right where I'd put my stuff. I mean, what are you putting back here? A skid, a pallet of stuff? I mean, it really doesn't bother me at all. I don't think there's any issue with it. It's not meant for humongous items. That's just, if you want that, you go buy a utility vehicle. Yep. If you want the multi-purpose, then you're gonna have to put up with some compromises, as you always do. And this here is just one of them. However, if you have passengers in the back, this isn't a compromise. This is a benefit. It's a huge benefit. Yeah, it just depends on what you're doing. And I think that the way this rear end is designed is sturdy and safe and functional and unique. Yeah, and its safety is key. Obviously, we have shoulder bolsters, which on the two-seater, everybody knows, was a little bit of a bother just because it interrupts your arm. but Yamaha builds and puts these kind of things in for safety. Worst case scenario, hope you never use them, but if you do, they're there and they do their job. The other kind of cool thing is there's 4 cup holders right in front of you, which means you can bring all kinds of stuff along with you, drink-wise.
Sippy cups for the kids in the back seat.
Sippy cups, and then that cup holder station is also the engine cover, so you can easily access the engine with these simple to use hand screws. They come off with your thumbs. You can get in, you can fill the thing up with oil, and you can check the oil. So very, very smartly designed, but I mean, what do we expect? It's Yamaha. They obviously make it smart.
Dirt Tracks is sponsored by Princess Auto. Make it work.
Now, I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that probably the most important aspect of the RMAX4 is the rear seats. That is what makes it a 4, that's what makes it different, and that's why you're buying this vehicle in particular, is the rear seats. But, you know, there's a slight compromise that you're going to have to make based on this being a convertible short wheelbase 4-seater. However, AJ, how does it feel to be in the back seat?
Yeah, you know what? The seat is actually super comfortable. I've got more than enough room for my legs and my knees. My feet even have a pretty good place, and I got 2 size 11s down there with pretty decent sized rubber boots on right now, so I'm comfortable with that. Handhold is in the right position.
And it's rubber.
It is rubber. And the other thing that I noticed right away is the theater style seating. So I'm up higher than the front passenger, which means I've got a better sight line to look forwards. And that's appreciated because a lot of 4-seaters, lower position, so you're always doing this looking over. And if you got 2 people back here, you're banging helmets together, right?
Yeah. But for the most part, I think we all can agree that these vehicles are built and made for families. One of the most significant differences between the 2- and 4-seat RMAX models is in the rear suspension. The 2-seater has a class-leading just under 17 inches of suspension travel. This one, because it has people sitting on top of where the wheels and the shocks are, it can only have just over 13 inches of rear suspension travel. There's mechanical reasons why that has to be done that way.
Yeah, and this is one of those things that, you know, we're not going to call it a sacrifice because really I find the suspension compliance on the rear end on this vehicle to be great. It works really good, no issues whatsoever. I've got no complaints. But again, to get this short wheelbase vehicle that doesn't have a full-size rear door that fits on the average size trailer and goes in your garage and is so much more flickable than those long wheelbase vehicles, you have to give up somewhere because, well, those shocks can only be mounted so high or they're going to be right through, well, where the rear passengers are sitting. So not physically possible. Now, another thing that we should talk about that I think adds to the softer ride due to the fact that there's a little bit less travel is the tires.
Well, Yamaha was very aware of who is using this vehicle and what they're using it for. It's being used for 4 people to drive around, and as we all know, when you put your family in the back seat of a side-by-side, comfort is the #1 thing you're worried about as a parent of any kind. So Yamaha actually decided to go with the Carnage tire. It's a 29-inch Carnage, but this is not your average Carnage. This tire was designed specifically for the RMAX4. It's an 8-ply tire, but has an extremely soft sidewall so that you get much more tire give, I guess, squish, but you still get that great puncture resistance of the 8-ply tire.
Purpose and reason for the fact that this isn't a square tire setup like a 2-seater, and that it has a slightly smaller sidewall. And I believe both of those things lend well to giving this a better, more planted stance because now you have 4 people. They're up a little bit higher in the back, therefore it would have more tendency to want to get light and roll. Yamaha counteracted that by not going square tire, putting the wider tire out back, just like a typical staggered side-by-side that we all have, you know, come to know and love. And then they also put a 1-inch smaller diameter just to keep it squatted down and planted a bit better. So that's all, again, rounds into that whole Yamaha really focus on safety.
Before we go any further, I just want to clear up a mistake that I actually made on the 2-seater test ride, and I apologize for this, but it's a little bit confusing and I think we need to clear it up right now. There is a difference between a Canadian green 4-seat RMAX and an American green color 4-seat RMAX. In Canada, this is called an SE. In America, it's called an XTR. This one still says XTR on it, but it's not listed as an XTR. And the only mechanical difference between the two, the only thing that's different, is that the American XTR package gets the screen and the dash with the upgraded GPS system. That's it. So just wanted to clarify.
Make sure you check the website. That will become abundantly clear there. But yeah, you might see coloration and ask why. We've had a lot of people ask why there's no screen. That's the reason. Now, let's talk about just a couple of the things up front before we close this out that are unique to the 4-seater. Number one, you know about spring preloads as well as clutching after talking with Yamaha.
So The spring rates on the front of the four-seater are actually a little bit softer. And they did that, again, for comfort. That's the only reason they did it. But it's designed to just improve the ride compliance between the front and the rear, make them a little bit more even so that you get a better ride for your family. And then the second one is the clutching. There are heavier clutch weights in the four-seater, which all that does is give you a smoother engagement of the clutches when you take off. Just, again, comfort for your passengers so they're not jerking their heads around.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, this vehicle really does answer a lot of questions for people who are looking for a super reliable, super fun, super short four-seat side-by-side. And I'll tell you what, after the two-seat RMAX test ride, you and I both said this is a vehicle that we would have at our house, we would have in our own garage if we were spending our own money.
Yep.
And I'll say it for the four-seater, for me and my kids and my wife, this is a vehicle I could see us owning as well because it makes a lot of sense. It's not everything for everyone, but when you find me the side-by-side that is, I'll name it the best side-by-side ever made, but we haven't been there yet. Everyone has to be taken in their own unique categorization, and this one fits perfectly, I think, in the family categorization.
It makes it the kind of vehicle that if you have to explain to your wife that you're going to get a side-by-side and she says, well, it has to fit the kids too, this is a great option because you can flip those seats forward, you got a two-seater, you flip them back, your wife's happy, you can go do yard work with the box. It just does answer a lot of those questions in a way that we both were so impressed with and are still so impressed with this thing. So that is our overview of the four-seat RMAX. Yamaha's done an excellent job with this. We were impressed with the two.
Yep.
Equally as impressed with the four, so I think they knocked it out of the park.
Yep, I just want to try out the GPS now.
Give us one.
Dirt Tracks is sponsored by Shock Strap. Start strapped, stay strapped.
Today we're here at Martin Barkey of MBRP, your personal garage. We know each other, we go way back.
Years.
Yeah, for sure. The reason we came today is because you guys have just released a new system. MBRP's got their latest system out for an X3 Turbo. So as much as I'd love to just talk about cars and racing and all kinds of fun stuff, probably it's time to focus on this.
Yeah, by all means. Well, you know what? The X3, as we both know, is killer side-by-side, tons of power. And you know what? It's an enthusiast bike kind of deal. And you know what? We've been blessed, to be able to work on bikes like these.
One of the things I got to say about MBRP exhausts of all kinds, anything we've ever installed, is that they really do meet your three kind of criteria. They sound great, they look great, and they're super high quality. That is the three things that I would say defines an MBRP exhaust system. So why don't you tell me a little bit about why those three aspects of an exhaust are most important for you in your position, the founder of the company. You built this company.
But it's taken, hundreds of people to do it along with me. And we're blessed with great designers, sales teams, guys and girls in the plant. And you know what? I think over the years, these bikes have come along. The technology now that's in this side-by-side is just amazing. And I think it's important that as a manufacturer that we do the same thing. So, if you look back and see what we manufactured back when you and I would have first met, I don't know, back in maybe the MXZ 670 days, you know what I mean?
For sure.
We had a great product then too, but the units have come a long ways, be it snowmobile, side-by-side. But as well, I do believe, as you've mentioned, our products, our MBRP products, our brand has come a long way as well. So, we're just blessed with a great workforce. We've often said in years gone by, a sales team built by enthusiasts for enthusiasts.
I remember that tagline.
Right, and that was a few years back.
Yeah.
But you know what, I think it's still, although it may not be our tagline right now, it's still something that I think plays a large role in who we are and maybe, as you're mentioning, how we build these products.
So tell me about what we have here. I mean, obviously it's an impressive looking system. There's some really trick parts here that I think finish it off nicely. But tell me what makes this system different than any of the competition.
When we're doing a side-by-side, and you would have been seen in other brands and some of ours, you take that universal 5-inch muffler or maybe an oval as it may be, and you find the easiest route out, and you get underneath there so that it fits right. It sounds good, of course, and there's some performance gains, and usually a manufacturer, you know, will bring that to market and away you go. You want to be first, you want to be somewhat early, and you want to, of course, get a good product out to the consumer. I think in this particular case, the design team, along with some input from the sales team, and then, of course, input from our customers that come through our sales, we just wanted to come up with something a little different. And in this particular case, you know, you're going to see we have what we call a center dump here. We've utilized our oval straight-through design muffler. And when you mention components, I mean, all of our components have a U.S. forestry approved spark arrestor that, you know, in and out, cleans easy. But I think you're referring to this one mostly.
Yeah, it was.
You know, with carbon fiber right now, and as you know, MBRP is huge in automotive and trucks and cars and Euro and everything. But back to the side-by-side, we wanted to get some carbon fiber out there in the side-by-side world, and we were able to do this on the Turbo here.
Everybody loves carbon fiber. This is the part I think that just finishes the system and lets people know that you weren't messing around when you bought your exhaust. You bought the exhaust to have, right? When that's sticking out the back here of your side-by-side.
Totally.
Well, we've, as I said, had a lot of experience with different products that you guys have built over the years, and we've run them on all different vehicles. We've had long-term test units that we've abused the crap out of, which is why I'm curious to see what this one sounds like once it's on an X3 with a triple under the hood, because those things sound mean already. So are you up for getting your hands dirty and helping me put this thing on?
I think I can do that.
Closed captioning of Dirt Tracks is sponsored by MBRP Performance Exhaust. Race-inspired, trail-proven.
We're putting the spark arrestor in, but you just mentioned something that I had never actually thought of with a spark arrestor. And I don't know why I haven't thought of this. I feel stupid for not thinking about it, but you actually mentioned that you take your spark arrestor out and clean it. And I'm sorry to all the people who are watching this who already knew that, and I look dumb, but I never thought of that before.
Yeah, you know, it's meant to actually do that. So it's catching particles, it's catching soot, it's catching any sparks that would come out. But if it's going to catch the spark, it's going to catch anything else that may be coming out. So yeah, definitely, it's easy. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Yep.
Wash, solvent, clean it, brush it, do whatever you want, hose it out. This is stainless steel wire as well. So yeah, it's meant to be taken out and, as you say, cleaned up.
Well, I think we're one step away from putting that really cool tip on.
Yeah, by all means.
Tell me about where this concept with the carbon fiber wrap around the stainless tip, where did you come up with that?
Well, you know what, it really is sort of a Euro automotive deal, right? So yeah, it was just, I think I didn't come up with it. I'd love to take, I'd like to take the heads up there, but no, the design team would have probably, you know, we've been doing a lot of Audi and such lately. So I bet you any money, the guys probably had an Audi tip around the shop, and somebody said, hey, check that out. Away we go.
Yeah.
So,
well, that was pretty slick how that just went on.
Yeah, it's real simple. And then, of course, all we're going to do now is the supplied clamp that's there as well. Tighten that up, and we're good to go.
That's got to be the easiest exhaust install I've ever done. That was a perfect example of MBRP's fits right? That fit exactly. We didn't have to push anything or swear at all. It
fits right the first time.
Just went right on.
And you know what? I mean, we've been at it many, many years. We've got, I keep coming back to the design team. And you know what? Lots of manufacturers have great designers and great design teams, but I guess we get to see it firsthand each time we put on an MBRP.
What I like about this is the factory plastic went back on. So it has this stealthy kind of stock appearance, but then you get that center, like, it's just focused right here on that cool carbon fiber exhaust tip.
Yeah, you know, we've seen some where this plastic doesn't go back on and you see everything and the mechanics of it. I think the designers and the sales team basically just decided that this was a nice, clean look. This becomes the center point, carbon fiber, we all like that.
Yep.
And yeah, simple, ready to go. Something we should mention is we've utilized the factory heat shields, and of course, we've got the O2 sensor back in place as well.
Because this system doesn't require any tuning.
Nothing.
This is just a bolt-on
ride. Go enjoy it, listen to it, enjoy that throttle response, the power, bolt on and ride.
So I guess the next thing we got to do is is we got to get out and hear it. I can see that twinkle in your eye that I know you want to hold this thing wide open.
I just want to know who's driving it, you or I.
Yeah, I have to. It is your garage, so you know. I think you maybe win that one. Well, let's hear how it sounds. Let's go.
All right.
If you've enjoyed this segment, make sure you hit the like button. And also comment down below because we love hearing from our fans and we try to reply as much as possible. And also, make sure you subscribe because here at Dirt Trax, we've always got cool stuff coming your way.